welcome, and thank you very much for being here. I know hundreds of things are happening, and almost finished though, but thank you so much for being here. First of all, I really would like to thank the Vasa for this beautiful opportunity, because this opportunity to be able to talk about the Arc Underground, this biennial that we did together with Branko Franceschi in Bosnia and Herzegovina, is very emotional and important for me because, okay, 2 years ago, it was my first encounter with this biennial, happened in this room. So I was working on a project with Jana Chalovsky, who is a Macedonian artist, who is a very good friend of mine, that we collaborated as curator artists, as co-curators, as co-editors a lot. And we came here to listen Branko Dimitrievich, we call him Branko as friends, Branko's talk here. And we just learned it like 2 years ago, like half an hour before the talk, and so we rushed, and I was just sitting on the third row or the fourth row like this, and the moment he started to present the project, I was amazed by the space, because this atomic shelter, it was something. And at this very specific moment, I was working for a project in Cyprus, which was about an abandoned airport, which was abandoned for 38 years. So whenever you were entering there, you were having like very dusty and very filthy environment with 3 centimeter or sometimes even 5 centimeter berg shit. So this place was beautiful, like it was preserved well since 1984. Am I right? No.
1989.
1979. Yes, 1979, and it was well preserved, and it was a secret, and it was revealed only 9 years ago. Anyway, I remember very well that we were talking with Jane. The first thing I said, "Oh my God, Branko has got only 5 guides. Can you steal one for me?" And then Jane was making jokes. "You love this place, right? You would like to have something there." And then I remember very well for more than a day, we dreamt about having a biennial there, and he was the artist, I was the curator. Then right after this, in 2012, it was April, I was contacted by the Association Biennial of Contemporary Art Sarajevo, and they told me that they would like to work with me as one of the curators of the biennial. So I was amazed. So of course I called Jane and I said, "I don't know my concept, but you should be in." So this is how we started. But it was also, I really would like to go a little bit with the story, because it will be showing you a kind of the structure of the entire thing, which is really interesting, but at the same time very intuitional and sometimes even emotional. And so I was commissioned with another, not Branko, with another curator from Zagreb, and we came together in Sarajevo, even not going to the bunker. A night before, I decided that we should do everything separately, because he was nice, but he was kind of old school, and I freaked him out, and I thought everything would be much more perfect if we can work separately. And he accepted this immediately. So the next day we went to the bunker. It was amazing. You're going to see the images, but I must say that to be in the bunker is something else, and it's very impressive. It's like being in a steampunk narrative together with my childhood, because everything is 70s, and then soldiers, and everything is mixed, but it's something like industrial kind of fetish object, and they call it real object. It's a military object. So right after this, I had no idea what my co-curator was doing. So I worked on my own concept. I selected projects and artists accordingly, and by the end of September, and I submitted all of them to the biennial office by the end of August. And then by the end of September, I was informed that the other curator will not be there anymore, so he quit. Or not, he didn't quit, but they couldn't make it. I don't know the reasons, I never questioned. I was really happy. So, but then they told me that you're going to have another curator from Zagreb. I said, okay, who? So I was posing a lot of names, the ones that I know, the ones that I really would like to work with. Then they come up with the name Branko Franceschi. Okay, another, not my generation, but perfect, but he's younger than me. You should see him, you should really meet him in person. Anyway, the first time I met his name, I mean, I checked him and I already knew the name from one of the Venice biennials, but the architectural biennial. So I checked him and I was really impressed by his work, and it was mostly about the spatial design and a lot of stuff that, a lot of research about in the same line of my own research and my curatorial work. So I was happy, but I was very skeptical. So he started to work like October, by the end of October?
November.
Even November, but we first met in November, right?
Yes.
Yes, so then he was in the picture and he did everything that I did in a month. And then we continue. Now I would like to cut here and I would like to ask Branko to give you a little bit more context of the entire region and the context of Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Yes, hello, and thank you, Vasif and Salt, for having us here. Well, as you have heard, I was, and I am still, the biennial is going on, a substitute curator for the Croatia. One of the aspects of the biennial as a project is that they always have two partner countries. So there was the first edition of biennial. The partner countries were Serbia and Montenegro, which was a very brave movement considering the war in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Branislav Branko Dimitrijević, which gives more confusion because we have the same name, was one of the curators, and Petar Šuković from Montenegro was the other one. And as Bašak said, I was kind of rushed into the entire project, probably for the reputation that I can do the things fast, and as it was a difficult decision for me, I kind of felt that someone has to justify the Croatian involvement, and the Croatia was paired with the Turkey, which is also very interesting collaboration regarding the very intense past that we shared for the centuries, us being the border of the Ottoman Empire. And as I told Bašak many times, this is kind of like the anecdote, Franceschi is Venetian family name, and my family came to Dalmatia actually to combat the Ottomans. So at the end we all end up in Konjic in Bosnia and Herzegovina to do the cultural project together, no matter it is 4 centuries after, but still art is having its beautiful purpose, one of many, to connect people that used to be the enemies or on the opposite side. And basically this is all embedded in the concept of the biennial project of Konjic, but I will just tell you now for the beginning then, the biennial underground of contemporary art in Konjic, when you hear that title of the project that we did, you immediately have to think 2 things. You have to forget everything about what you think as a biennial, because it doesn't apply to this project. And also later, when we come to the idea of the museum, you have to forget everything about the museum as it is. This is indeed a work in progress. And it is very important that it is happening in Bosnia and Herzegovina at the moment. And which I felt, and I shared that with Bašak many times, as a curator, we were finally giving the opportunity to work on the project that you feel it actually contributes to the local community and the entire state that remained in not only unresolved situation after the war of the 90s, but also in a sort of turmoil that is ongoing. So the situation in Bosnia and Herzegovina is that the public cultural institutions are being shut down, closed, no money, that's always the excuse, one after the another. Significantly, all those institutions are dealing with the idea and the concept of Bosnia as a state. And obviously, for none of the political parties there, which are three, not the parties but the sides, let's call them, divided religiously, is of none interest to sustain these institutions. So Croatia being so close and also in not a brilliant economical situation, having the country that is close to you, where you can first experience very dramatic stories from the colleagues working in the public institution that haven't been paid for 2 years, and finally the colleagues of the museum, and then we are talking about the Museum of the National History of Bosnia and Herzegovina. This is really the roof institution that is sustaining everything about Bosnia and Herzegovina from the ancient times to the contemporary, is being closed by the staff because it was not even for them, not just that it's meaningless to work without being paid, but in the recent year they even didn't receive any sufficient amount of money to sustain the collection and to take care of it, which is the essential purpose of the museum. So in a sort of almost performative act, they closed the museum and they put these huge wooden planks on the entrance stating museum is closed in Bosnian and in English. And of course, which is a sad thought, no one really cares. So the other institutions are going to be are slowly being shut down too. And then maybe you know about the incredible Arsevi project in Bosnia, though very unhappy state in recent history, has these people that have these incredible concepts and ideas, and one of those was Arsevi that created the collection of the top contemporary international artists, and the collection is in Sarajevo, and of course they don't have place where to exhibit. They got stuck with a Renzo Piano project for the design for the museum, and unfortunately, of course, no one is giving money to make it happen. And then Sandra and Edo Hozic, the directorate of the biennial, came with another interesting concept of creating the museum, but not in Sarajevo, which is the political and the cultural capital of Bosnia and Herzegovina still, though the country is divided in two entities, I would call it for this purpose, but we'll not go to that. They decided to make it in a city of Konjic. Konjic, which is a small community of 40,000, am I saying too much, in this beautiful area that is a frontier between Bosnia and Herzegovina in a sort of geographical, climate and the cultural sense. And since that area was in the heart of Yugoslavia, being the cushion state between East and West during the Cold War, Marshal Tito, in the constant paranoia of the possible attack on Yugoslavia from all sides, predominantly from the East and the West, decided this being the geographical center is excellent location to create the bunker that can host him and 350 of the military elite, and his wife Jovanka is the only female, to operate from that in the case of the nuclear attack from ever which way it will come. So the markation of the military object, D0, meaning days 0, meaning that the bunker was ready with everything needed, water, food, energy, to sustain them for 6 months without the contact of the outside world. It was the top secret of Yugoslavia. We didn't know about it, and I find about it, which is also important fact, through this biennial of contemporary art. And now I'll pass the word to Bashak. Will probably dance around as we did curatorially with the project.
Okay, so what you see is the entrance of the bunker. So as Branko was talking about it, it's 45-kilometer distance to the Sarajevo, so it's like 1 hour drive, but it's in the military zone. So you have to enter to the military zone in order to reach to the bunker, meaning that during the biennial you have to be informing people that you're coming a day before, but when the biennial is closed you can still see it, but you have to inform them 15 or 20 days in advance, because you need permission from the Ministry of Defense. So it is a military object, and it is also at the moment working as a historical museum or even as a military museum. So every day, apart from the biennial, it receives at least 100 people per each day to come and visit the bunker with buses and so forth. And it was built in, as I was saying now, I remember very well, it was built in it was finished in 1979, and Tito died in 1980, so he visited the bunker only once. And as you were saying, there are it was designed for 350 people. There's a special section for the high-rank generals and Tito's comrades. Yeah. And then there's only one room dedicated to Jovanka, so even like everything is something surreal, because like it's 350 people as far as our research, they're all men, and there's only one woman, and Tito never allowed her to have baby, so to produce. So it's, the entire thing is insane, but when it was opened, Tito and Jovanka was already separated. Anyway, but the most incredible thing is that the States, United States of America, paid 4.6 billion US dollars to build this.
Unfortunately, they didn't pay. They probably gave us the credit that we are still paying off. That's one of the issues.
Okay, but it's incredible. It's the second most expensive and most biggest military object in the entire region. So this is what you see from the outside, and this is the plan of it. So it's exactly 6,000 meter squares, consisting of 12 blocks, and it looks like really big, but at the same time it's consisting of very small rooms, one and after, so you never feel like you're in a very huge place. But at the same time, it's how do you say, it is quite livable. I loved it, and there's no polence, and you're out of polence. The area is so, the nature is so wild and beautiful. There's Neretva River just running across the bunker, and it's indeed, the outside is beautiful. Anyway, from there, shall we continue with our?
Maybe we can say a few things more about the bunker.
Okay.
Can you return us to the plan?
Okay.
But it's just the one thing, and that's also the anecdote. The thing is that there were this is not the second, but the third most expensive military object in Yugoslavia. They are all underground. The most expensive one is the underground airport. The second most expensive one is the underground harbor, which is in Split, and this was the third one. And the cost of this one was, did you say, like 6 billion something dollars?
No, not 6, 4.6.
And for me it is the same, because it is this incredible amount of money. I even cannot imagine what it actually is. So all these objects are of course mined all the time, and they can be destroyed by pressing the button. This is what happened to this military airport, which was also in Bosnia in Bihać. The military, the underground harbor, which is in Split now in Croatia, no one is mentioning, so it means it is functioning still. And this one was apparently saved by the bravery of a single person, as always, and this is kind of like a funny anecdote coming to think of it. So it was already after the war in Croatia, it was already war in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Everyone was polarized, and in this top echelon of the Yugoslav army that was already completely openly at the Serbian side, there was still one Bosnian guy. And when they were leaving the bunker, the order to destroy it was given. But then the Bosnian guy told other officials, okay, you leave, you go, and I will do it, it will be my pleasure, and he didn't do it. And thus, this bunker still exists. And as Bashak said, it is still part of the military unit that are not only controlling this military compound, as they tend to do, but they have assigned 10 soldiers that take care of the bunker to preserve it as it is. And then, though it is not known to the common man, the bunker itself is a huge and was a huge hit between the diplomatic and the military international public and was one of the obligatory points of visitations by the foreign diplomats. And then in the terms of the economy, apparently its construction is a sort of miracle of military engineering, so it was very good advertisement for the Yugoslavian construction team that were hired then by Libya, by Gaddafi, and in Iraq, and build a lot of military compounds there. So it is the kind of also it was a very important part of the economy. When you enter it, it is a sort of like a labyrinth. And for me, kind of like a pretty boring one. You always, when you come to the place and you have these big expectations, what you are going to see, once you are faced with the reality, it is of course completely different, but it is exciting in a different way. Actually, and this is a very good point why the art should be introduced, it is very boring. It is like kind of like underground corporate facility. This is the one built in this in the materials and the architecture, very functionalist, very bare, very military in the center. So it is the row after row of the same doors, same type of spaces, except these 3 spaces that are connected the entire bunker. And these probably most exciting spaces at the entrance is actually, they are already under the ground, but they just are used to, how to say, the cushion the first impact of the nuclear explosion. The bunker starts here and here, all of this is under the ground. So you have to think of it as 250 meters deep under the hill. So basically you don't go down. You're always on the same level, but it's a very steep hills rising above you, and at the end of the bunker you have 250 meters above you, but you very soon forget that you are under the ground to do this kind of very, very usual interior design of the building.
Okay, shall I continue?
Of course.
Okay. And so what is very interesting and unique about this biennial is that indeed it has end. So unlike the other biennials who would like to grow more and more and do more and more, the association decided to have only 5 editions. And the reason for it is that they would like to build up a museum inside of the military museum. So basically, the dots that you're seeing, red ones and blue ones, they're the 1st edition and 2nd edition. So from the 1st edition, most of the works are still there. Some of the works has to be removed. And then with the 2nd edition, all of the works are there. I'm going to explain it more. Basically, whatever you are doing, you're producing, you're not even donating, but you're loaning it as an artist, your work to the bunker. And most of the works, especially with us, are site-specific. And what is going on is that if you're an artist, if you still have the work, you own the work, and if you want to, for instance, show it somewhere else, you can lend it, you can show it somewhere else and bring it back. If you don't want to be in the bunker anymore, you can just take your work out, or if you sold out all of the editions of your work, you can take it out again, or you can put something else in. I mean, it depends on your negotiation, I think, with the biennial. For instance, Ahmet Öğüt is here. I saw him at some moment. So his work, this beautiful work that I really like, Things We Count, it was there, but then he sold the 6th edition, so he removed the work. He had to be removing the work, but I know that the directors of the biennial would like to have another work from him. So it's like a museum where, I'm so sure that Branko will be going deep into this issue more about shareholders. But I think it's a beautiful concept, but also, of course, it demands a lot from the artist, and it's a big responsibility as well, because whatever you are leaving there, whatever you are producing for there, it will be part of a permanent collection, which is really interesting. Okay, I'll go back to our story very shortly, and then I'll be going back to the artwork so that you got really excited. So we were accelerating the tension, yeah. Right? Okay. So what I did is that my concept was time cube. I'm not going to go into details. And then Branko came up with this concept, the castle. You can read it while I'm talking. What happened is that I think it was really incredible and nice and magical in a way. The artists that I chose and the projects that has been produced, by the way, not more than 95% of the works were produced for the second one, for the second edition. So while I was working with my artist, and while he was working with his artist, and there was this one moment that we merged everything, because the artists that I was working with, they started to respond to his concept, and just vice versa as well. And during the production phase even, we became like a family. And I think it's a very special project, not because of the fact that it has got something a lot of different than the other biennials, but also it needs a lot of, it demands. I mean, you're working with such a less fees. Artists are really, how do you say, they're sacrificing a lot of things and they're compromising, but they believe in it. So it was so beautiful to work with artists who believe in the fact, and because you're working with really limited budget and you're working with really hard conditions there. And we were there a lot, around 20 days, I guess. I mean, I really love the bunker, but not all. I mean, Cesar Boyacier, he's claustrophobic, and he was dying the first 2 days, and then he gets used to it. But it's beautiful for me. It's 25 degrees all the time. The humidity is 60% all the time, and whenever you feel that you don't have air anymore, the ventilators are working 3 times a day. Then you have the sound, then the ventilators are coming, and you're saying yes, air. So it's kind of really interesting as well. And the other thing is, I must say, we work with a beautiful production team who are mostly from the locals. And they were young, but they were so good and no tension. They were so nice. And also the volunteer girls, I mean, they were amazing. And they were not spoiled. They were not saying, how much money are you going to give? Or they were not saying, like, it's like they really believe that they're doing something for their environment. And they really want to learn more and more. So I shut up. And these are the participating artists with our edition.
And then we always stress this very important fact that no matter the organizers, no matter the curators, that we are now, and that then we will become former curators. Another one will come, but the donations of the artists, and this was very important part of our curatorial duties. They are basically not just through through the works as the installations that mostly are giving life to the museum, but with this donation to be discussed in the futures are really giving the life to the entire concept. And we were very moved that we are working with a group of people that completely, the group of artists that completely understand that if the artists don't help the establishment of the cultural public institution in the country where the public institutions are being shut down, who else will understand? So in the very dense time that I personally have for the exhibition, but thanks to the many years that I am working in this field, I was able to probably in the 98% immediately thought of artists that can work within these parameters that Basak was saying, but also that will understand and that their work is related to the role of the artist and art in the society, and that they are willing to give the example of giving to the public and to create the cultural institution. So the future of the entire project is yet not secure. There are many crises and critical moments in dealing with the military. I mean, as you can imagine, the contemporary art praxis in general has a sort of special communication with the audience. I mean, when you think of the military as a sort of not just the audience, but not just the host, but the owners of the space. And it is upon the decision of a single person on the top who can say, okay, tomorrow this is over, take everything out. And this is a situation that actually happened in a single moment with after the first biennial, but then thanks to this incredible effort of the and skills, social skills of the organizers of the biennial, this was avoided. And then as we feel as more and more art is entering the museum, the more secure the positive ending of the entire project is going to be. And immediately and you know that from your personal experience, when you enter the bunker, somehow you got enchanted by the bunker, and this is what happened to all the artists, and they are all with this kind of, how would you say, heart and soul, were happy to
They freaked out first.
Yeah, yes, but then later
so overwhelming.
they grow into liking the object. And then, of course, you can feel the power of art in work, because you have these 10 soldiers that are basically the curators of the museum, and now you have to imagine it is drag for them is kind of like the visit is coming, so they have to turn everything on, all the video work. Sometimes they, of course, they have their problems, and this is a side job for them that they are actually not paid for it. And then they are, of course, at first kind of like neutral, but it's kind of like, you know, in their machismo, they actually don't like the entire notion that of the contemporary art in the military facility. But then when you start to talk to them, you pretty soon realize they like one work, they like another work less, and they can pretty well articulate why do they like it and why they don't like it. And now for, I guess, is when you have to think like in the situation 4 years before this date, when there was just this empty architectural shells, and Branko's and Basak's concept of time machine and time capsule is so accurate, time cube, sorry, accurate, because everything in this bunker is preserved. You have this obsolete, up-to-date technology of the 80s that is even today ridiculous to kind of see, and that you can imagine that it existed, like the telephone operating system with 5,000 lines. All these bunkers, this was the central bunkers of hundreds, so everything was connected with 3 physical cable lines by the cable, and also with the radio lines. So you have all this equipment intact, but it was empty and dead. And now, with the media art that is inside, once it is, you have the movement, you have the sound, and it looks like the bunker is alive, and you have this, as a visitor, I assume you have this effect that you are actually entering in facility that is alive and that is functioning. It's not just this boring, empty shell of the labyrinth tunnel.
Okay, the other thing is that, which I forgot to mention, which is really important, that it's also curatorially, it's also kind of an agreement. You agree to coexist with the other selections and other projects of the former curators. I think it's quite important because you may not like some of the works, you may even oppose to them ideologically or even even visually. But I must say that I was so happy that Branko Dimitrijević did a wonderful job, because it was filled with beautiful works before we came. But
Arkadaşlarım.
okay, he's performing, so what? He's good. Okay, this is the entrance of the bunker. I just want to go through the pictures a little bit to show you some of the works in the bunker. Then maybe it's a good idea to have your questions and to discuss it a little bit more, because the more you ask questions, we can talk a little bit more about it. So this is basically the entrance of the bunker. Maybe I should show it again very quickly with this. So I'm sorry. So you're entering from the top one, and the corridors that you're going to see the entrance of the bunker. So basically the real bunker starts from block 7, like this. And this was the entrance. So I'm going to show you some of the works. If you want to add anything, do so, please. So, I mean, this is the entrance. So you're entering block C from here. You see the doors and so forth. These are the corridors. By the way, as Branko Dimitrijević worked on his concept, no network, as you were seeing, even walkie-talkies are not working because of the structure. So basically, whenever you have to find people, so you were having this kilometers and kilometers of walk every day while you were working there, which was, okay, fit. I got fit there, I was. So this is Tito's, maybe you talk a little bit about this Tito's room?
Tito's cabinet.
Yes.
Well, it is what it is written, but we installed Renata Poljak's work. Tito was, as all the dictators, was a huge fan of the movie industry, so we installed the projection of the work by Renata Poljak, which is based on the 80s film on this partisan boy hero Boško Buha, who was killed in the Second World War, in the war that created the socialist Yugoslavia, and basically with these pathetic scenes from the film, her work starts, but then she is having the dialogue with the artist who is Croatian and who was acting Boško Buha as a partisan boy who was creating Yugoslavia, and then he was later fighting on the Croatian side in the war that brought the end Yugoslavia. And of course this is this double identity which is indicated the schizophrenia state of the region, which is another topic. But this special work was a huge success with the audience. Armin Linke and Srđan Jovankov.
Okay. I mean, we have hundreds. Don't do it. Let them talk as well. Okay. I just want to show you those images so that you can have a little bit idea. But okay, in the meantime, what we did is that I edited a book. That was consisting of the entire 5 years of the entire project. And I was really happy to do this because I was also collaborating with Branko Dimitrijević for the first edition, and then Peter Čiković for his selection, and then with him and with all the artists. So I also get to know more about the project through this book, because I was in contact with each and every artist that was participating. And I also asked for, we also asked for other like writers, curators, thinkers to contribute to the book as well. And we had the book launch in Venice in UNESCO building, so it was hilarious. So I'll have some images afterwards. You'll see what we are talking about, because UNESCO also, you tell this.
Yeah, well, what would be the term? UNESCO selected project as a sort of protected projects for the region, which was a very important thing, because this is what we forgot to mention. But now the Army of Bosnia and Herzegovina, of course, pending to become the member of the NATO, has already given the list of the facilities that they own. And then, of course, NATO is telling them which facilities are of no interest when they become the part of it. And then this bunker is not, of course, of the NATO's interest. So once the Bosnian army sooner or later will give up the maintenance of the bunker, which will then become in peril. And then the idea with this, usually what we have been asked, so if all the public institutions in Bosnia and Herzegovina have been shut down due to no money situation, why the organizers believe that this one, the new one, is going to function. But there are the few rational arguments to it. First, the idea is to create this hybrid museum institutions that will combine military museum with a contemporary art museum, and thus attract different audiences. Of course, the audiences that are going to see it as a sort of miracle of the military the architecture, and of course the global attention that the biennial has received as the contemporary art event make it also attracted the people who came to visit the biennial. So the first edition was 10,000, the second one, ours is also close to that number, and then you have to imagine that no matter how it is organized, that everyone who goes to visit the bunker, the exhibition, have to register him or herself. So it is not a situation you go there and then you buy the ticket and you enter. No way. You have to go to the website, you have to apply to the tourist information board, and then they have to combine it and to communicate that with the military. So the military have the complete list of the visitors, and there are 3 visits per day that are related to the biennial itself. Then you have the entire economy of this city, that the only now industry, sadly enough, that is successful is the big industry also underground of munition and explosives, that it has a huge international, of course, success due to the unfortunate demand for this type of, how do I call them, commodities. Everything else is shut down. But then entire area is very beautiful and rich in the unpolluted with immense woods, and is probably the biggest quantity of the pure water in the entire Europe. And then, of course, you can go rafting, which we all did, and Bašak even swam in this freezing cold Neretva. But the local population is realizing with the media coverage of the biennial that they, on their hands, have one extra attraction that can attract people to visit them and to stay there, and it is not just for the natural beauty and the good food. There is something extra that is being developed. You have these 10 military guys that are working there taking care of the bunker, which is their duty, and less willingly taking care of the artworks, but somewhere embedded in their minds is that as the bunker may become obsolete, also with them becoming part of NATO, they will probably be left out of the job. And in that time, they already have the uniform, they can be very interesting, sort of like curators in the military uniform taking care of the museum. So you can see the sort of window of opportunity for everyone regarding this project. And the enthusiasm of all the local entrepreneurs that we were collaborating with in producing the exhibitions, from the painters to the gypsum board to the electricians, all kind of course these little hotels and restaurants, they all realize that actually we are bringing, the project is bringing money to this community that is in between the centers. It is has this natural attraction, but they realize, of course, that is not enough. And now they have this Museum of Contemporary Arts, they have some historical, cultural heritage that is also interesting. Everything related to the partisan fight has become a sort of pilgrimage from some strata of the society of former Yugoslavia. So this is all creating one puzzle that is creating the new economy of for the local community.
Okay, let them ask.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, no, it was good because it's so good to give this context because, yeah. Anyway, there's some books here so you can check. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, we would like to answer. And also, I'm so happy to see some of the artists are here. Ahmet Öğüt, Banu Cennetoğlu, and Yasemin Özcan. Ahmet Öğüt was chosen by Branko, so I can't get the credit, but but he's here. So if you would like to ask any questions to the artists or to us, you're welcome. Banu would kill me, but it's okay. So, I mean, these are the books. So, I mean, you can check. I don't have too much. I mean, someone should be going to Zagreb or I don't know. We will bring more, I hope, this year. Any questions? Nothing.
We obviously covered everything, that's good.
No, there are many things that should be asked. I can't hear you. Can you?
Something more about artworks.
Artworks, of course. I mean, let me start. Shall I?
I can start with Banus and Yasemin. Artwork is very significant for the bunker.
Okay, let me do this, then I'll go there. Okay?
Okay.
Can I?
Of
Because
course.
I really love this work. This is a Romanian artist. I love their work as well. This is a Romanian artist, Simona Dimitru, and this is these are from the archive of the Secret Service in Romania. Basically, these are the first they have the small maps plans, and then they have the execution of the maps. Meaning that these are the maps, how to take photos of the agents or of the people. And these maps are, as you see, these are the cars, and some locations are the cameras. So basically, first they're working on where to take a picture, from which angle to take a picture of a very important moment. So this is the map, then the execution. This is the map, and then the execution. Then I'll go to the bonus. Okay. I'm sorry, I saw it and I wanted to talk about it. So. I love all the works, I must say, also from the first edition. I think it looks beautiful. I hope The next curators will choose wonderful works. Okay. Yasemin or Banu, would you like to talk a little bit? No, you don't want to. I can't see you because you're under top. No, she says no. Okay. They don't want to. There's Ahmed as well. I mean, no, I don't. Okay, they did a wonderful job. You know that I'm going to say everything wrong and you'll kill me, so.
You can read.
No, you can read. Yeah. Here we go. Okay, she wants me to read because every time I'm saying something else. What is that you are worried about is the title of the work. So single channeled HD video, and it's 35 minutes. And in this collaborative project, Van Cennetoğlu and Yasemin Özcan seek the assistance of a non-artistic discipline to measure the energy circulating in the physical space of Facility DO, Tito's Atomic War Command, aka ARC. The object is put through a holographic energy scan by the Habitat and Human Energy Rebalancing coach Zeynep Sevil Güven. Of course, I can't remember all those things. For this specific project, Güven simultaneously uses the inner speak protocol and herself developed ZSG healing methods to reveal the invisible data of this very space, which she approaches through the architectural plan of the bunker so as to achieve a deep cleansing in a relatively short period of time. What is it that you are worried about will be first shown in the bunker itself as a part of the second edition of Project Biennial DO Arc Underground, Bosnia and Herzegovina. On May 10, 2013, it will be premiere in Vienna in the context of Unrest of Form, imagining the political subject, an exhibition parcoursed by Wiener Festwochen. So basically, I just want to say one thing which I find is hilarious and nice. And of course, while she's speaking, you learn a lot about the bunker, and in a very secretive way, I must say, and in a very interesting way. And it makes you think about the bunker and all these energies once again. But at the same time, the chief coordinator of the biennial, Sandra Hodzic, she really believes in the fact that she cleansed the entire bunker because she believes that all the tension went away, and we were doing really well as the artists and as the curators because they had some problems with the first biennial because at the end of the first biennial, Branko Dimitrijevic and the association decided to split their ways, and we tried a lot, but it's not coming back again. But they're both very respectful to the project, so they're not doing anything to harm the project, although they're not talking to each other anymore. So, okay. So you did a great job, apart from the art. So, okay, any questions? Like, anything? Like...
I mean, maybe what was when we were given the assignment to make a selection of the artists, though you have the partner countries, we were told immediately that our selection has to be international, so we cannot prefer the national artists, which is kind of also a tricky situation since the countries are basically, partner countries are financing the biennial. So it is also it kind of shows how also the persons on the levels of the Ministry of Culture, on the political levels that are needed to approve to this investment are realizing the importance of the project. And it is really not something that is referring just the regional history and struggle. It is really the bunker itself is a monument to the entire era of Cold War and this constant life in paranoia of nuclear attack, that we think today it is over. That obviously, considering the amount of the nuclear weapons that are globally around, bunker might use, and we were discussing the moments when we were in the bunker, if it was the crisis with North Korea at the moment, so we were discussing like we are safe in the bunker.
But the other thing that we forgot to mention, maybe the public programs. So what we try to do is that, okay, whenever there's an international big project is taking place in a region as such, it always fails to have a real communication with the local community, especially with the local art community. So we tried really hard to be in contact with each and every university, all the art academies, and also the art community through the public programs. So what we did is that we had artist talks before the opening of the bunker, and then we have one round table with the contribution of international curators. So what happened is that I can't say that it was successful, because we received really very less audience from the public, from the local community, although we forced more. But at the same time, I really think that it was a good starting point. So I'm hoping that with the next editions, there will be more intense and more, more public programs in which it can embrace also the local audience more. But I must say that during the opening and after the opening, it has been visited a lot by the local community. But with the public programs, it was like we arranged everything with the translation and everything, and every day, since every day we were receiving more people, but still it was not enough, I must say. It's the same problem, I think, also in Turkey and also in some other places as well. So, yeah, I mean, you're doing all these projects and then you're talking with the same people all the time, so you're not really reaching to the real, to the local audience. Okay, that's it. I mean, any questions? Anything that you wonder? Something critical, something scandalous? Yes. Please.
Going off your comment just now, how do you feel that the local community might be viewing art in a different way within this object or this military bunker that might be more threatening or have a different read than somebody that's coming internationally or abroad to see work within this place?
Okay, what happened is that as I was saying that, can I?
Yes.
Okay.
What
happened is that, as I was saying, we realized that even during the production, it was really annoying to have, while we were working, to have all these tourists coming all of a sudden. Like 100 people are coming in the bunker while we're working, and then you're facing, I mean, sometimes, most of them are local, I must say, local tourists are coming, domestic tourists, and then there are some internationals as well, so not necessarily any relation with the contemporary art. So we decided that we should put labels first, both in Bosnian and English, that explains all the works. And that was our first intention, to make it much more communicated. And then I must say that I'm not underestimating, I mean, nobody should underestimate the soldiers. I mean, the soldiers are great. They're really giving a beautiful guide, and they know the works very well. Once I was talking about Caner Aslan's work to someone, although it's Branko Dimitrievich's selection from the first edition. After I finished it, he added more, and it was beautiful to see what's going on. So I must say that, and also with those students, the volunteers and also the production team, I think they're getting into it more and the more they're getting into it, the more people they're attracting, their friends, their families, and so forth. But I really think that this is such a process that needs a lot of time. I mean, it will build up like that. And when the first time I asked the association, I said I would like to do a public programming, and I mean they said it's not Vienna, nobody will come, Başak. Forget it, we don't have budget. So we created a budget for the public programming, but it was really hard to even create such funding for public programming. And I think it worked well. The only thing didn't work was the party. It was my idea and it was horrible. It was the most boring party ever. But it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, well, with the kind of to clarify this local and international public, so it's there is a regional public. When we say regional, we think usually it's kind of like the people from what used to be Yugoslavia. That kind of is this tourism niche that is very lucrative, and people are coming to see all these significant places and spaces that were significant for Yugoslavia as the state. So this is one big audience that is coming. Then the audience international that comes to visit museum, the bunker, and some to come to visit the contemporary art. And then you have the local people of Konjic. So for them, of course, the first year, the first biennial when it was open to the public, so they have now the way how to finally see the bunker that is 3 kilometers away from them, and that they were not aware for the majority of their life that it exists there, because it was built in this way that it was absolute secret, and all the stuff that was taking care of the bunker have been, of course, specially selected personnel. And then this was this incredible disbalance that is, of course, questioning the entire concept of Yugoslavia, and it probably brought it to the downfall. So you have this little city of Konjic that used to have 5 telephone lines in the 60s, and you have the bunker with 5,000 telephone lines in the same time. So when you think about the amount of money that was spent to kind of support this paranoia of this military elite that wanted to preserve themselves, and what after the 6 months, there should be no one they can rule outside. Everything wiped out. They're completely unnecessary. If that money has been invested to kind of to better the life and the infrastructure and the economy of the entire country, and we are talking of many of such projects, maybe the fate of Yugoslavia will be different. So it is very poor management and the politics in the field, but people like the attraction, so there is one that is a combination, and then we honestly hope that it will contribute to the future economy, and which I stated to the in my text, is that actually you have the artists usually that we are presenting that are fighting against the totalitarianism of any kind, and basically with their art they are bringing bunker to the open back to the people that are still paying for it, and it was never intended for them.
I'd like to know more about how you make the process of choosing the artist, and if you, because it may be a silly question, but I don't know how does it work, and if you first give them the idea of the leitmotif of the Biennale of that year, and after you choose the creation they have made, or they already made something and you choose after?
As I mentioned before, more than 95, maybe few works only, more than 95% of the works were commissioned, so they were new works. So, I mean, it's very similar to him. My way of working, my methodology, curatorial methodology, is that I really would like to work with artists who are research-based. So, there were research trips with me, and which I completed before he was in the scene. So what happens is that first I invited everyone one by one to the bunker to see the bunker and to talk with everyone what's going on there. And of course I chose artists according to my own like way of thinking and according to my research topics all the time, like. And I didn't choose any projects, I chose artists. And we developed projects all together, apart from Simona that I showed, because I saw it in Romania, it was part of a project, part of an exhibition, but she modified it a little bit for the bunker, but most of the works were produced. So basically it was a kind of ongoing dialogue, and like in which I was sharing my own research about the bunker, about my concepts and about the region together with the artists, and then the artists were also sharing everything, and I was trying to, like, I don't know, trying to collect each and every visuals, news, whatever, and I was working with artists one by one, and some of the projects has changed on their way, and most of the projects has changed. You're even changing or modifying the projects during the production according to the space and so forth. And with me it was like that, I must say. And but I chose artists, and then they produce works.
And this also is, as I told before, that basically first you introduce the entire concept of the biennial as a project to the artists, and this is the sort of like the first, is it sonding? Sonda, is it English word? It's kind of like the first thing you actually try to find out how they will respond to the entire idea, and then of course it is, you always have this one ideal concept of budget that is, as always in culture and art, shrinking constantly. And this is probably one, of course, the biggest concern of the organizers, because this, no matter what contracts they made, they end up with less money, especially with the local money of Bosnia and Herzegovina. It's very insecure. They still didn't receive entire sum that is a part of the budget, and they are sort of like in debt with it. But this will kind of like over the, I guess the end of the year is usually the time when they can deal with it. So you have to think of the very specific personality of the artists. So I mean, of course, the artistic excellence comes first, but then it is the second thing is this personality of the artist who can understand, support, and cope with the problems that a project of this type is putting in front of them. If that is the answer, then it is all the other easy and beautiful questions of what works. So some works adaptation, so most of them are installation type of works. So they all have to be produced new, because I immediately knew of some works that I would like to see them there, but then also I have to, the artist will warn me, no, this can be done here, the space is too small, you have to do this and that, but you will always, and this is the most beautiful part of the curatorial job, is kind of like when you're involved in the creativity of the artist, and you sort of, you on the producing side and the artist on the creative side come together and manage to finalize the project. Yes?
Yeah.
You should mention that the directive to have international artists came from elsewhere, not from you. And if you had a chance to do another show in the space and you didn't have to use international artists, like would you, or would you do it? Wow, would this affect your decision?
I'm not sure that I understand what
She's
you are asking.
talking about, as you mentioned, that you should be doing international artists. I think he mentioned this in a way that the curator, which left before Branko, he chose
I mean, you have
too many Croatian artists. That was the problem.
It is the thing that each edition there are the partner countries. So this kind of like Turkey, who gave the biggest amount of money, then Croatia, who gave a small amount of money. It's kind of there was this idea that since the Croatia is paying, it should be more Croatian artists. But the idea of the entire project is to be international. So this is something that you, as a curator, and the organizers communicate to the Ministry of Culture that is financing it. Not to have these expectations that now we are going to exhibit 19, I mean you have the quota of 19, 20 artists. You can select that it is going to be like 20 Croatian artists over there. But the maximum is 4.
But the other thing is that I must say that there was an expectation from the Turkish embassy from me to choose more artists. And I said, no, 2 projects, 3 artists. And even Branko Dimitrijevic chose Ahmet Öğüt, Hüseyin Alptekin, Can Altay, and Caner Aslan. So he even chose more. But it's, I said no way. I mean, I said I.
That becomes curating by funding.
Yes. But I didn't choose them because they're Turkish. I chose them because I really do believe in their work. And the other thing is that, as the continuation of the other question that she left now, we are too long, we should cut it now. But
Okay.
just one thing, for me it was very important, like I had artists that I trusted, that I worked a lot of times, that I chose. And there are some artists that it was the first time in my life that I was working with them. So it was this combination. But for me, it was so important to choose artists who can really do site-specific works within this bunker. So if you have no more questions, let's cut it before the entire saloon will leave us alone.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.